You know, the Rebbe Shimon is right over here. He's not over there. He's over here. Sorry, I hear that.
I'm plugging in a hardwire. What? I got it.
Any
I
particular?
really don't. I don't need it. It's not worth it.
Okay.
I
Nope.
don't need it.
So how we're plugging into that?
But I'll give you this in the meantime.
Are you going to plug this in here?
Be better sound.
Just take the whole thing.
Rebbe? Yeah. Started recording? Talk. Now record.
As long as it's
Thank you.
Hashem
Yeah? Okay? Say them. Yeshikoyach to the Berish and to Yaakov for all of the hard work. And Yeshikoyach to Alex again for the ices and for the warmth, and for the friendship and the Nemonis that's traveling with us all the way from Woodmere all the way to Meron. The family should be gebenched with everything good.
Nobody in the back can hear you. Is it possible?
Oh, yeah. Who's working on it? Yeah, we're gonna boost it. Yeah. Andrew's gonna go deaf. No.
I didn't know there was a women's section.
Don't give me the.
What do you want? The mic?
Well, Hashem. Hashem.
Better?
Try.
Okay. Is this better, Michla? Yeah? It's okay? Okay, I'll try to use my voice also.
No, move. Let's go.
Maybe we could just do the chat GTP, whatever it's called. I'll just relax a little bit. No worries. What would Weinberger say in Meron? It wouldn't have said thank you, Alex. It wouldn't have known that. So then that's the main thing. See, it doesn't know that. It doesn't know to say how much I love each and every one of you. It doesn't know that either. You tell me when it's time to go. Okay. We'll try. No. I think this is maybe the third time that we came together to learn in Meron over the years. And the schus of being here and the pachad of being here is beyond anything that any words can be written to describe or can be spoken. Eretz Yisrael is described in Torah as being a place of harim, ubakais, of towering mountains and deep valleys. And all of life consists of towering mountains. There are moments that are like that. I felt that, I think, within 2 minutes of being in Shur yesterday. A place of the lowest depths, but at the same time of the highest mountains. So when we were leaving yesterday, last night we were leaving of Sasson. So there's a choveret, a shir that he gave, and I opened it up to these words on the first page, and I want to explain them. I want to talk about them. Traditionally, I've given a shir. I'm not saying here a drasha or shmuz. We're going to learn something. Aleinu ladaz, sha'am Yisrael b'bechina sula mutzav aretza v'reisha megiah hashamayim. We have to know that Am Yisrael, just as I spoke about Eretz Yisrael, everything that exists in Eretz Yisrael is, of course, in Am Yisrael. And so too, Am Yisrael is the bechina of Sulam Mutzav Aretza, of Yaakov Avinu's ladder. The Sulam is Mutzav Aretza all the way deep into the ground, but V'roisha Megiah Hashamayim, at the top of the ladder, reaches the highest heavens, the lowest depths and the highest mountains. Ki b'nishmaso shaykhu el pnimius hametzias. The neshama of a Jew is shaykh, is connected to pnimius hametzias, to the deepest essence of all creation, of all reality. The deepest, the highest worlds. That's the neshama of a Jew. But the body of a Jew is planted here in this world. And sometimes in this world is even capable of lo aleinu sinking to subterranean parts of this world, to the lowest depths. So it is that the Jewish people have an external layer, b'rovid pnimi, and something that's much deeper and internal. Tzad nigla v'tzad nister. Am Yisrael has a tzad nigla and a tzad nister. There's the revealed Am Yisrael and there's the concealed Am Yisrael. Ma'isi v'ruchni. K'mo Yisrael, and just like Am Yisrael has a tzad nigla and a tzad nister, that which is revealed and that which is deeper and concealed. There's the guf of Am Yisrael, and there's the neshama of Am Yisrael. K'ma Yisrael gam ha-Torah asu revadim. So too the Torah itself, of course, is revadim, has layers and layers. V'yesh batzad pnimi v'chitzayni. There's the inner world of the Torah, the tzad pnimi. The or of that Torah, of course, comes by way of Har Sinai, but this is the world headquarters of the tzad pnimi. We're sitting right now a few feet away from Rebbe Shimon. And this is the place, yesh batzad pnimi v'chitzayni. There's a tzad pnimi of Torah, and there's a tzad chitzayni of Torah. Nigla v'nister, revealed and concealed. Ma'isi v'ruchni, practical and ruchni, and the ruchni is the side of Torah. So let's try to understand this on our level, and the connection to Rabbi Shimon and to his Rebbe, Rabbi Akiva, who we're going to be by tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem. The third parak in Havis, the Mishnah says, Hu haya omer chaviv adam sheniver b'tzelem. He used to say, we'll see who the he is in a moment, he used to say, Chaviv adam sheniver b'tzelem. That how dear, how great is man, who's created b'tzelem in God's image, chibi yisevna da'asloi, and that it was told to him, it was revealed to him. Sheniver b'tzelem shenemar, ki b'tzelem l'kim also as adam. So it says in the Medrash Shmuel, Ki einat tzelem hanemar kan ala tzelem utmunas toyer ha'adam. When it says in the Mishnah and the pasuk in Chumash tzelem, that man is created b'tzelem, in the image, it doesn't mean anything physical. That man looks different than an animal. But as far as one's outside appearance, external appearances, human beings share many things in common. Even if somebody is not Jewish. The tzelem, the image that the Mishnah is talking about, it's referring to the tzelem that is unique to Am Yisrael levadim alone. And this is not like the Tosfos Yontif says on the Mishnah. The Tosfos Yontif is talking about the tzelem that all mankind shares in common, Jews and non-Jews, lahavdil. Now the Mekubalim, of course, agree with the Medrash Shmuel, as the Heilige Kamarner discusses at length on this Mishnah in Noitzeh Chesed. Who's the Baal HaMishnah? Who's the Tana of the Mishnah? Who's the Hu Hayomer Chaviv Adam Sheniver B'Tzelem? It's Rabbi Akiva. Which is the Hemshech of the Mishnah before was Rabbi Akiva. And Huaya Omer is this Mishnah as well. And Rabbi Kever had many thousands and thousands of Talmidim, but he had a Talmud who was Echad Yochad Meyuchad B'neihem. That Talmud who we're by right now, regarding whom it says in the Piyut, Nasa Adam, what? Nema Bavarecha. Nasa Adam Nema Bavarecha means that even though it says in Pasuk, Tzelem Elokim, and the Mishnah says, Chaviv Adam Shenivr B'Tzelem, there is one Jew regarding whom we say, Nasa Adam Nema Bavarecha. That when it says in Torah, Nasa Adam it's Halmeinu B'Museinu, Nasa Adam is Nema Bavarecha. And I mentioned last week in the Chabura. In one of the Chaburas I mentioned, one of the tzaddikim, the Mechaim from Vision Schusi Elena. Once when he came out from this place, from Meron, he said the following words. I mean, he said them in Yiddish, but this is in the Sefer. That when it came time to create man, and Hashem wanted to create man, so the print, the form, the image of man was the image of Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. When the Baruch Shalom created, when he came to create man, he said, he showed the Malachim, and he said, "Das is das. This is what I have in mind. This is what I have in mind. Such a person, like this." Hidgim is hadugma sharashbi. Ech tzarich liyos adam. V'zanasa adam nema bavarecha. And the Mechaim said, that's what the Paitan was talking about when he said those words, which afterwards we'll sing together, Mitzvah Hashem. V'nasa adam nema bavarecha. So on the one hand, the Adam, the Tachlis of Tzelem Elokim, it's not the Nevi'im. We have a whole list of Nevi'im. We're going to be by the mikveh of the Arizal in Mitzvah Hashem very soon, and next to the Arizal is the Navi Hoshea. It's a minute away. It's not about the Nevi'im. Nasa Adam Nemu Bavarecha is Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. And the tzaddikim said, the Kalina of the tzaddikim said, that Rabbi Shimon's lakol. Makadosh Baruch Hu lakol, Af Rabbi Shimon lakol. Umi idach, on the other hand, I'm sure that many of you know that many tzaddikim in our generation, when I say ours, it's a few years ago, but I was Yochai to see the Leiv Simcha, Schusi Elena, the Ger Rebbe. It's especially known in our generation from Leiv Simcha, but from tzaddikim throughout all of the years, who said that when somebody would come to ask, when parents would come, or when Jews would come, a couple would come, who were not able to have children, who wanted to be parents, that it's well known that the Leiv Simcha and tzaddikim through the generations would say, for that you have to go to Meron. Go to Rabbi Shimon to ask for children. And just as we went to Amulka, which is a place which is Mesugal to ask for Chassan Kala, this is a place that's Mesugal for everything, even for Tchias HaMesim, which we've spoken about it many years by the Hilulas. But it's a Mokum which is Mesugal for Pkidas HaKaras, for those who can't have children, to have children. And so it's a place that's Mesugal for those of us who have children, that our children should be good and should be healthy, b'nefesh u'b'guf. So on the one hand, Nasa Adam Nema Bavarecha, meaning we're shooting for the highest man. Nasa Adam, Tzelem Elokim, this is the headquarters, Tzelem Elokim. On the other hand, a baby, a Tinik Ben Yomer, we're asking for just a baby that's a Chefze. A Tinik Ben Yomer doesn't have any seichel, doesn't have anything except the most bare minimum mitzias of being a Chefze of a boss of Adam, a Chefze, a shtik yid. That's all it has, a shtik yid. Without it already forgot what it learned. It doesn't have any psukim, no mishnayos, no gemaras, no Ktsoisen, no Nesivisen, no Svasamisen. It has only one thing. It's a Basar V'Dam. A baby, it's a Basar V'Dam. So on the one hand, Nasa Adam Babarecha, that this is the place of Tselem Elokim, Nasa Adam, the highest man, the dogma of all creation, which is Rebbe Shimon bar Yochai. When Hashem himself said, this is what I mean. On the other hand, this place is Davke Mesugel, for Nasa Adam, by the simplest meaning of Nasa Adam. The lowest, simplest meaning of Nasa Adam, which is what? A plain shtik yid, a piece of Jew, a piece of a yid. That's all, a baby. A baby comes out without madregas at all, without anything, just crying. That's all. So it's a Moridike V'nahafaychu here, a place of hafachim, of ktsavais, of extremes, of Nasa Adam Nema Bavarecha, Tzelem Elokim, the highest thing, and then the lowest, simplest midah of a Tzelem Elokim, of a Nivra B'Tzelem, which we learned from the Medrash Shmuel and from the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. Rabbi Kiva said, Chaviv means Am Yisrael, a Yid, a Jew. So of course everybody knows that the word Adam itself contains this dichotomy of the highest mountain and the lowest time, the lowest depths. Because the word Adam, of course, means Min Ha'adama. The man was taken off from Min Ha'adama, from the dirt. Man was created from the Adama. V'ish Moshe on a Moed, Mikol Ha'adam Hashal Pnei Ha'adama, the earth. And on the other hand, everybody knows, the Ramban brings down, that the name Adam is from the words in Navi of Adam Elyon. Adam Elyon means that the highest image of man, the Tzelem Elokim, of Adam Elyon, that a human being, a Yid, we learn it means a Jew, a Tzelem Elokim, can say Adam Elyon. Adam Elyon, that I resemble Kivyochel. And it's not a stira, and that's exactly what Rav Sasson is talking about in the words I read you. It's not a stira. The highest mountain and the lowest valley, Eretz Yisrael, a Jew, times of the year, Neila, Tisha B'Av. On the one hand, an Adam, a Yid, is created from the offer, from the dirt. He comes from the dirt, from the lowest place, from the Adama. On the other hand, the neshama of a Yiddish Min Ha'Elyonim, the Tzelem Elokim, includes both of these opposites. The lowest place of Mikimi Mi'arfa Adal, of the lowest place of Adama, from an Adama, me'ashbais, from the garbage heap, me'ashbais, yara me'evyain, lo yeshivim nedivim nedivei amai. David HaMelech said, Meshiva keres habayis, em abanim semecha. And Rabbi Shimon himself said, in the Zohar Kodesh, B'kama dargin iskri barnash, that we find in Tanakh that there are a number of names that man has. The Kamadargin Iskri Barnash, Kever, Enosh, Ish. These are names for a human being in Tanakh. But Gold Shabakulam, Adam. But the greatest of all names is Adam. The Chsiv, Ki B'Tzelem Elokim, Oseh Adam. He was talking about himself, but he was talking about all of us, from the highest to the lowest. Ki B'Tzelem Elokim, Oseh Adam. So this highest title, Adam, which on the one hand is referring to Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai and to all the tzaddikim, to the neshama, to the highest we could be, mitzad echad, mitzad sheni, is talking about a tinik ben yoimai, a little baby min ha'adama, Because that word contains within it these two extremes. Naseh, when the Baruch Shalom said, Naseh Adam Nemu Bavarach, and he showed a picture of Rabbi Shimon. He was saying he was saying to every Jewish baby that's born, the Baruch Shalom is saying that I want you to know that you, with your own kaiches, what you're going to have, whatever the kaiches that I give you, whether it's to Torah, you'll become something, you have the ability to be great in Torah, or in davening, to be an Elach Yid and Avodah, to be a big davener, to be a kind person. But I want you to know, Hashem's Baruch whispers into the ear of this baby, I want you to know the breathtaking potential that you have. That here you are, this little Afram and Hadama, a piece of dirt. And that this little Afram and Hadama can become, you know what you could be? And the Rebbe Shalom says, look at this picture, you see who this is? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. V'yamatem kolachai Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. V'yamatem kolachai Rabbi Shimon Tzaddik. This is who you could become in your own way, according to the potential that I'm giving you. You can lift yourself up from the lowest place, ashpos. You can slip into the ashpos. You can spend your whole life in the ashpos, in the garbage, in the bus driver's little bag over there. You can spend your whole life in that place. But I want to show you something. Take a look. And when you look at this, you little baby, take a look at this. You're a piece of dirt, a shtik dread. A piece of dirt. That's what you are. A piece of dirt. I want you to look what you could be. With your kaiches that I'm giving you. What you could be, what you could become in your life. Adam Elyon. It's your choice, the Baruch Shalom says. Adam Elyon. It's brought down from the Bnei Yissaschar and Agud Pirke. I don't want to give a shout out to the Yissaschar. It's so good to have Yissaschar here with us, Yissaschar. We miss you so much, and you're bringing us closer to you. We should be zayich to be together with you. It's brought down from Bnei Yissaschar and Agud Pirke. Chavtes. I didn't photostat things, even though it's easy to take a picture these days, but I know that we're very tight with the schedule, and as it is, I'm going to probably go 10-15 minutes over. We'll take it away from the next wine testing place. We'll take it testing, I don't know. It's brought down to when Mechel Zlotchev is Chusi Elenu, when he came for the first time to the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh Chusi Elenu. So the Baal Shem HaKadosh was Mechabed with Mechel Zlotchev. He brought him next to him. And the Baal Shem HaKadosh said the following, Teidu, you should know. She'ish hazeh, this person who's sitting next to me, Mechel Zlotchev, Ish hazeh, who ben harav HaKadosh Rebbe Yitzchak Drabitcher. He is the son of the tzaddik, Rebbe Yitzchak Drabitcher. La'aviv zeh, and this father of his, Rebbe Yitzchak, was a great tzaddik, Rebbe Yitzchak, had great children. Rebbe Yitzchak, Ulaviv zeh, Nosnu min hashamayim, neshama ketana. He was given such a little neshama. Asher ein kemat bedor neshama ketana kamayu. That in our generation is kemat, not such a low neshama as his father. For Rebbe Yitzchak higbiya isa, but his father higbiya isa, he lifted up that little neshama that he was given. Higbiya isa, Lamailas Hatana HaKadosh. Can you guess? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Your father, this person's father, he said, who's sitting next to me, had the lowest madrega of neshama in our generation, from the lowest madrega of neshama. There are madregas of neshama. Stal to Rabbi and other tzaddikim will explain. I'm not talking about it now. It's the lowest neshama. Higbiya Atzma Rebbe Yitzchak, this Rebbe Yitzchak, his father, brought himself Lamailas Hatana HaKadosh Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai. From Adama to Adam Elyon. And the truth of the matter is, this inyan of Chaviv Adam Sheniv B'Tzelem, the side of a Yid, this is the secret of a Jew, and each and every one of us who's sitting here, some of you know that I know your story, and some of you know a little bit of my story. And we all know that in our own stories, there have been mountains and valleys. There have been moments of Adama, Ofim and Adama, feeling like a piece of dirt. And there have been moments of Adam Elyon. But the Shita of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in Shas, the Yavam is Samach Aleph. I was so happy, so Chaim Eliyahu Blumenthal reminded me that the last year that we had over here was on the Indian of the Machlokes and Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda and Shas. And I have such nachas that he remembers that. I don't remember that. So I'm so happy that he remembered that. And I hope that we'll be able to remember what we're learning today also. But the Shita of Rabbi Shimon and Shas is that Kivrei Akum Einem Etamim Ba'oil. You know that the Shita of Rabbi Shimon, there's a machlokes. In many places in Shas, we don't paskin like Rabbi Shimon. In Nigla. And this day he's the Meron Dasher. He's the Meron de Kulei Alma. He's the Meron of Elyonim B'Sachtoinim. Rabbi Shimon's Shita in Shas is that the Kever of an Akum, of a Goy, is Einem Etamim Ba'oil. It's not Metame. Shneimar brings the pasuk in Navi. Va'aten tzaini, tzain marisi. You are my flock, my sheep, my lamb. Aten tzaini, tzain marisi. Adam. It says in pasuk. Adam. And Rabbi Shimon says, Atem kruyim Adam. It's coming together. Atem kruyim Adam. Each and every Jew is called Adam. Give me the 15-minute signal. I already passed it? Atem kruyim Adam. So listen, the Tana Mishnah of Chavre Adam David Tzelem is who? Rebbe Kever. Rebbe Kever's greatest Talmud is who? Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai. Nasa Adam Nemu Bavaracha. He's the Dugma of Adam, high and low. So Rebbe Shimon says in pasuk, Tzayni Tzayin Marisi Adam, Atem Kruyim Adam. Rabbi Shimon says, Vein ha'ober kacham Kruyim Adam. A goy is not called Adam. That doesn't mean that a non-Jew is not somebody who should be treated properly and honored and so on his madrega. There are other names of a human being. But the name of Adam, Atem Kruyim Adam, that's something else. Like we saw from the Medrash Shmuel, that the Mishnah is talking about, Tzelem Elokim is talking about a Yid, a Jew. So, because the atzmius of the tzelem, the deepest atzmius of that tzelem elokim, cannot be somebody who's not a Ben Yisrael. It's a Jew, only a Jew, who also is created from an Adama, but alone can reach the Madrega. Kedugmas Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that only a Jew can take himself from being Ofrim and Ha'adama to being Adam Le'elyon. Whatever Madrega somebody who's not a Ben Noach can reach, Kol HaKavod. That's his Madrega. But only a Jew can reach a Madrega to take himself Ofrim and Ha'adama, even the lowest Rosh, who's mamish buried. Like we were learning from Rav Kook, Chibut HaKever, buried alive. That even such a person who's buried alive under the most disgusting dirt of this world, in a moment, can be shot like an arrow, can bring himself up to a place of Lamala, Yesh Lecha Kanfei Ruach. Alei Lamala Ben Adam, Alei, it doesn't say Ben Enosh. Ben Adam. Alei Lamala Alei. Yesh Lecha Kanfei Ruach. Kanfei Neshar Ma'abir. And that's the tachlis of an individual Jew. And that's the tachlis of Am Yisrael, to lift herself up from the lowest place that we were in. Shmini Atzeret Simchas Torah 2 years ago. Yom Kippur 2 years ago. And Jews were yelling at other Jews davening Yom Kippur. To lift ourselves up from the lowest place of Mikimi Mi'afadal, Me'ashpais Yorim Evyain. So we can understand why just Agav, we have a fascinating minhag on Lag Baimer of the Tzaddikim. And one of the sweetest pictures that I have, maybe you've seen of the Klosenberger, is when they bring him a bow and arrow to shoot. My father said that in the Heim, that everybody, that was the minhag that everybody was keeping on the Lag Baimer, that everybody went outside and they were shooting arrows outside. Or their best friend or something, but they were shooting arrows. That was the minhag. So we can understand. We were just in a place called Kishatot, Keshes, which means an arc. It means also a bow, like a bow and arrow. And there's a teaching from the Avnei Nezer, from Sachat Shabbos Chusi Aleinu, other tzaddikim, the Shem Shmuel brings down from his father, but many tzaddikim spoke about this, that when Chana wanted so badly to have a child, there's a place that's Mesugel for that, and Chana was there crying in Shiloh for a child, and Eli didn't know what was going on, right, on his madrega. And she said, Isha kshas ruach anoichi. I'm not drunk, even though I had a couple of glasses of wine maybe. I'm not drunk. Isha kshas ruach anoichi. And kshas, I'm a broken Jewish woman. My soul is embittered. I'm childless. And kshas, the Avnei Nezer says, the letter is keshes. Keshes is a bow where you shoot an arrow. The Indian of shooting an arrow, the Avnei Nezer says, that the Bernstam could bring a person from being completely broken and embittered, from being in a place of kshas ruach, from being in the lowest place. Mikimi mi'ar fadal. And she herself, Chana says over there, the Loshen. And from that lowest place, to bring from that woman Shmuel Hanavi, and from Shmuel Hanavi comes Malchus, comes David Malki Mashiach, the world of Mashiach Tzekenu. He was the one that anointed David Malki Mashiach. Kshas ruach, the Avnei Nezer tells us, means the word keshes. Keshes means that a Jew has the ability, the Yismach Yisrael explains this also, that a Jew has the ability to be miyached yichudim, to go from the lowest place and to pull himself back and to daven in such a way where you're able to shoot an arrow. Even the lowest person can shoot an arrow that reaches the destination. And that's why we see that davening is called, by Yaakov Avinu, he said, Ki b'charbi uvekashti. And Targum translates b'charbi uvekashti. We just by Yonasan ben Uziel. Targum Yonasan translates b'charbi uvekashti means with my davening, slusti v'usi, with my tefillas. And davening is called a bow and arrow, because the greatest davening that a person can daven is when he's feeling that he's in the lowest place of his life. When he feels completely tzebrochen, when he feels like there's no hope. And in that place of no hope, he turns to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is what Am Yisrael did. All of Am Yisrael turned to Hashem Yisbarach. And the bow was drawn back to the lowest place. And our enemies thought, that's it, we finally got them. We're finally going to destroy them. They're finally finished. And then, boom, we let go of an arrow. B'charbi uvekashti. And Rebbe Shimon by Yochai, by his last breath on the last day of his life, which was here, where we're sitting, a few feet away, which is where he was, where he was brought from the Mara to here. Milan Elu, Hayu Tmirin, he says, Hayu Tmurin Biliboy. There are words that I didn't speak throughout my entire life that I'm sharing with you now. That there were yichudim that he wasn't miyachid until that last moment that Tzelem Lakim was about to return to the dirt from where he came. As I was talking about the Piyazetzna, by the Hilula, from Rabbi Yochanan, that unbelievable high shufra, the bila ba'afra, that the human being, that tzaddik is high shufra, the beauty that's buried in the earth. So the minhag to shoot an arrow on Lag Baimer is because that's all that Rabbi Shimon was teaching us. What's the meaning of Pnimius HaTorah? And what is Rav Sasson talking about, Davka, the last generation before Mashiach comes? That every single Jew has this bow and arrow in his hand, to take himself in a moment from that Adam that's min ha'adama, that's from the lowest place min ha'adama, and to lift himself up to be Adam le'elyon. Mikimi me'or fadal, me'ashpes yorim evyon. We don't know. How's Mashiach going to come to our generation? Our generation of the internet, our generation of all kinds of addictions and craziness, our generation of all the lowest things that were ever in creation. How is it possible that our generation, and you look at your kids sometimes, and Khalili, your kid's up to something that's no good, and there's more than one person that I know sitting in this room that found something on a child's phone, and you and I know what I'm talking about, and what you went through, and what you've gone through. And that you're able to see that childhood, at that moment you felt was finished. It's never going to be. All that I've davened for, all that my wife and I have davened for, all that we were hoping for, all we wanted in yeshiva, all that we wanted to spend his nights, I don't know what they call it, the kids go away for the night, there's a word. Night sleepover, to have, all I wanted shouldn't be, he'd be a shmira. It shouldn't be with the wrong kid. It shouldn't really hear the wrong words. He shouldn't see a bad movie. He shouldn't hear a bad song. And then you find something on your kid's phone, and it's verfallen, and you feel that's it, my kid is off from an Adama. He's the lowest piece of dirt. And this is not what we wanted, it's not what we davened for. This is what we were given by Kadosh Baruch Hu. And Rebbe Shimon is screaming into your ear, listen to me. I know what it means to be Tzelem Elokim. Look at me. Your child still can be me. On his madrega. And that's why there's a story yesterday by the base, by the Chashmonaim. I told the Meisim of the Rebbe of Gershon Henoch, the Gibor of Gershon, the Radzina, the holy Radzina, the Tchelis, right? And there's a Meister with another Meister by a bridge that happened with the Radzina, that I told you maybe around 18, 19 years ago. But there's a Meister from the Radzina. The Radzina Schusi Elena said, there's a Meister that happened with him. He was a chorif, I mentioned yesterday, he was very, very sharp. None of the Goyim of the generation were comfortable talking to him because of his sharpness. And he said what he felt. Like the Rogatchover, we have stories. The Radzina, I told you he carried a gun in his suitcase. He used it all the time. With words. Very sharp. So there was another mice of the bridge. Seriously, I was just thinking about this because I mentioned the bridge. Apparently it was the same. There was a bridge over there. We were by Redzin somewhere. There was a bridge, and it was one of these little footbridges. He's going over a scary place. And there was an Alti Yid also, begins the same way, but not with a wagon. This Alti Yid was walking across, and he was holding on to the rope on the two sides, and it was taking a long time. And the little Gershon Henochel was with some friends. And they were playing. They wanted to get across. They were going to go swimming or something. They were running across, but there was an old Jew, and the friends were waiting there. And Gershon Henoch, he was a little boy. Gershon Henoch said, "No, schnell, move already, no." He yelled at the old man, and the old man looked at him, and he said to him, "I'm a chutzaf. And Gershon Henoch said, "Do you know who I am? My father's the Rebbe." So the old man couldn't believe that. That's a bigger chutzpah. Your father's the Rebbe. So where did the old man go? He didn't go home. Where did he go? He went to the Rebbe. And he told the Beis Yankiv, he told his father, that I had just now on the bridge, Gershon Henoch, I'm a chutzpah. This is your son, the Rebbe's son, I'm a chutzpah. So the Beis Yaakov sent somebody. He sent the old man. He said, I'm sorry. I'll talk to him." And he sent the old man away. And he told the chassid, go find Gershon Henoch. And the chassid runs around. He finds him Gershon Henoch, probably swimming. And he brings him over to his father. And he goes to his father. And he says, "What is it, Tati?" And he says, "There was an Alti Yid here, Reb so and so, that said, I want to hear did this happen? That you yelled at him, that Schnell, that he should go move?" He said, "It's Amos. I did say that." And you said, and he told you you're a mechutzav, what did you say? He said, "I'm the Rebbe's son. You're the Rebbe, I'm the Rebbe's son, I'm your son." So the Rebbe said, who do you think I am? What do you mean that an Alter Yid, that you're the Rebbe's son? He said, so Rebbe Gershon Henoch said, Tati, you're like Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai. So the Beis Yaakov stood up and he started to cry. He said, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai? Do you have any idea? Do you know what you are, a little boy? Do you know what you're talking about? You don't know who you're talking about, Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai? And the Beis Yaakov was crying, and he was holding himself like this. For a few minutes he was crying, then he was quiet a little bit, and he took his hands off and he said, as long as I live, it's still possible that I could become Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai. And he said to Gershon Henoch, you too can become Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai. And go find Rebbe Yankel and tell him that he also could be Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai. Each person on his madrega. So now we connect all of this, and we'll finish up now. We'll connect all this to Rebbe Akiva. The shooting arrow of Rebbe Shimon, from the lowest to the highest. I'm Rebbe Akiva Ashvechim Yisrael, lifnei mi'atem etam mi b'tayr eschem, v'yichem shem shemayim, v'oimim mikvi Yisrael Hashem. Listen, the Gemara in the Dharm Daf Nun is the most romantic Gemara in all of Shas. Because there you have the story of Rebbe Akiva and Rachel Bas Kalba Savua. It's not the only place, but in this place in the Dharm Daf Nun, the Gemara tells us how poor they were. Because you remember that they were thrown out of her father's house. At that point, he wasn't Rebbe Akiva, he was Akiva. And he was an Amoris that was also not fond of Talmidei Chachamim. In other words, he was in a place that's called Orfim and Hadam. And the Gemara tells us that they were so poor that they had to go, they would sleep in barns. They were sleeping in a barn. And you remember the Maisa? They were there with animals in the barn. And Rebbe Akiva, the Gemara tells us such a story. They wouldn't say this now about a tzaddik, but the Gemara is very open and honest. But in the Gemara, there's no such thing as, like in the Jewish magazines, name withheld. The Gemara doesn't do that. So the Gemara says, this is Rebbe Akiva and Rachel Bas Kalba Savua. It doesn't say it happened a moltz, a tzaddik, it happened a maisa. It says Rebbe Akiva and Rachel Bas Kalba Savua. That Rebbe Akiva, they were there lying in dirt in the offer, in the hay. It was a barn. And Rebbe Akiva is picking the hay out of Rachel's hair. And he says to her, if it be possible, I would buy you a tachshit shel zahav. This is where the song Yushalayim shel zahav comes from. Whereas Naomi Shemer made the song from this. I'll buy you a tachshit, some crown of gold with the image of Yushalayim on it, in gold. And the Gemara says, because he felt bad that such a person is like this, that she has hay, dirt in her hair. And the Gemara says that one day Eliyahu came disguised as the poorest person that they ever saw, and he knocked on their door, of Rebbe Akiva and Rachel. He knocked on the door, and Rebbe Akiva saw that, and Rachel saw that there's such a thing as a Jew who's even poorer than them. Why? Because Eliyahu, he was disguised, said that my wife is giving birth, and I don't have a bed. She doesn't have a bed to lie on. She can't deliver I need hay. That's how they used to make beds. I need hay for a mattress. She can't have a baby. I can't afford. I don't have hay to lie on. That's how poor he is. So the Gemara says, okay, they took care of him. Rebbe Akiva said to his wife, so do you see that there are people who are even poorer than us in the world? There are Jews who are even poorer than us. And after that, she told him, from that Maisa, she told him to go learn Torah. And that's the Maisa, 24 years. 12, and 2 times 12, the whole Maisa. That's from that which happened, that parasha. With the Tevin, with the hay, and with Eliyahu coming disguised. So the question, of course, is what got into Rachel's head that all of a sudden, now I think everybody knows the answer, that all of a sudden this Orfim and Hadama, who for whatever reason she fell in love with and married, that this Orfim and Hadama is going to become who? Rebbe Akiva. How is Akiva going to become Rebbe Akiva? How could such a transformation possibly be? And that at this moment, at the lowest moment in their lives, that here he's so ashamed and embarrassed that she's the wealthiest girl in Yerushalayim, and that she married him, an Amoritz, and they have nothing, and they're lying in the schmutz and the filth, this richest girl, and they're lying in the schmutz, the lowest moment, and he's looking at her and she's got dirt in her hair, and he's taking the dirt out from her hair, and he's crying and he's saying to her to imagine that scene, and he says to her, I'm going to make you a Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, a crown of Yerushalayim. And then after all of the years, with 24,000 Talmidim, he ran over to her. And he said, Sheli Shalach, right? Everything is yours. Everything I have is, and everything that you have is all from this woman. And I have no question at all that she was the embodiment like Rachel Yemenu, and her name was Rachel. Bas Kalba Savua, even the name Kelev, Kalba Savua. Chazal talk about the name Kalba, Kelev, the lowest thing, a dog. Savua, which means to be full, means to be from the lowest to the highest. That she was the embodiment of Rachel Yemenu. We're Hashem are going to see on Erev Shabbos, on the way to Efrat, that's the Derech Beis Lechem, Efrat, Derech Beis Lechem. What did she see on that day? What did Rabbi Akiva see, and what did Rachel see? They saw, or they heard, a baskel coming from the place that we're sitting here right now. How could such a thing be? There was a baskel that came from his own students, from Rabbi Shimon Yochai, that came from before creation, from that moment of creation, of Naaseh Adam, Nemu Bavarecha, Ki B'Tzelem Elokim Oses Elokim Es Adam. B'Tzelem Elokim means Mikimi Mi'afradol Me'ashbes Yorim Evyon. And now that we see Rabbi Akiva, we reach this lowest, most disgusting place, I'm going to bring us together to the highest place of Yerushalayim, of a crown of Yerushalayim. I'm going to place the crown of Yerushalayim, a golden crown of Yerushalayim. I'm going to place it on your head. And she said that now I know that my Akiva is going to become Rabbi Akiva. So when we say that, when Rabbi Shimon Yochai said the words, Yechalani, Yechal Lifto Esa'ilam, Kulam and Hadin, Miyom Shnevesi Adator. He was the student of Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Akiva was killed al Kiddush Hashem. And we know that Rabbi Akiva in his own life was like an arrow that was shot from being in the lowest place to the highest place. And then on that day of his death, Rabbi Akiva was saying Kriya Shema. And his Talmidim couldn't understand that this is the lowest thing that could happen, that what they're doing to Rabbi Akiva. And he said, Kol Yomain Nitztarati Alzeh, Mosa Yovri Liyodi V'Yakaimenu, Achshe Shabol Liyodi Loyakaimenu. All my life I'm waiting for this. All my life I'm preparing for this. And he was Marich Be'echad, Shema Yisrael Shem HaKelem Hashem Echad, and Yotzes HaNishmoso, his Neshama left him, Be'echad, with that word, Echad. And the Baskel came out and said, Ashrecha Rabbi Akiva, Shiyotzes HaNishmoscha Be'echad. Yotzes HaNishmoscha Be'echad. Knows Rabbi Akiva. Hashem said to him, Rabbi Akiva, you did it. You were the one that taught this to Rabbi Shimon. You did it, Rabbi Akiva. You brought yourself from being Ofrim and Hadama. You remember when you were the lowest to Amaretz. You remember that for some reason this Rachel married you. The Shechina took you in. And not only that, Shechina took you in, and you remember you were lying there like animals in a barn with the animals, in the filth. And you remember that at that moment, you were filled with this longing because of your love for her. And because you wanted so much to change. You were filled with this belief that suddenly it's possible to become part of that bow and arrow, and to be a lag ba'im yid, that you'll be able to somehow shoot yourself up to a place. I'll help you to bring yourself up from a place of Mekimi Afradol. Me'ashba is Yorim Evyon. Lo yeshivim nedivim nedivei amai. Mekimi Afradol me'ashba is Yorim Evyon. And this was the yichud of Yotzes HaNishmoscha Be'echad. This was the echad of Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Shimon, the students, said that I could part of the whole world, min hadin, from the time of creation until now. So when you and I have this chus to be in this place, after the end of such a milchama, and the milchama is not even finished, because the milchama continues. This milchama began a long time ago and is continuing until Mashiach himself is going to bring the Gula without having to fire any guns or arrows. That if we had this chus to be in this place, where Rabbi Shimon said, Atem Kriyim Adam, where even you and I know that every single week we go through certain things, and we feel sometimes during the week we're off from an Adama. But Rabbi Shimon paskin that Atem Kriyim Adam. Atem Kriyim Adam. And a Goysh Shavas is Chayev Misa. Ben Noach Shavas is Chayev Misa. That even the lowest person, whatever happened during the week, he's able to become a Shabbos Dike Yid, a Shabbos Dike Jew. And I wanted to take some more time of the story, but it's late, so I'll just paraphrase. How far over am I already? Huh? Hey, it's fine. Yeah. There are a number of places in the Ksavim, a number of places in his writings and his teachings where my Rebbe, Rav Soloveitchik, Zechat Tzaddik Levracha, spoke about the Jew in the shtetl that he would see on Shabbos. And he described in a number of places, in Bikashta Misham, and in some of his other Mamarim, where he describes, now here we have the greatest thinker, of the generation, Adam el-Elyon. And the way that he spoke of the simplest Jew that he remembered in the shtetl. I don't have it with me. It's on Chat GPT. I don't remember the Rosh Hashanah, I don't know what it stands for. But it's on the Chat GPT. If you ask about Rav Soloveitchik talking about the Jew in the shtetl, who all of a sudden became a Shabbos Dike Jew, what that transformation was like. Maybe if I say this in another 30 seconds, I could have already a little bit of that if you check your GTP. So, but the way that the Rav described it, and here we have a real brisker, right? So there are two dinim in a Jew. We don't want to upset a brisker. There are two dinim in the Jew. There's the Chefetz of a Jew. That's the 6 days of the week. We offer him an Adama. He didn't say this. There's the Chefetz of a Yid that you and I sometimes become Chefetzes during the week that are thrown around. There used to be a song when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, like Dust in the Breeze, Dust in the Wind. No, we don't have to go into it. It's bad enough that I remember the song. You don't have to prove to me that you remember more of it. But we are all dust in the wind. So during the week, it's oilam vad oilam. A person could be in 1 week from Matzah Shabbos till a Shabbos could be all over the place. So during the week, a person is a chefetz v'yid. He's like sometimes like an from an hadam, like the dirt. But Rabbi Yoshe described that same Jew that he would see during the week, it's there, right? Let's say so. You'll let me read it. That same Jew who during the week was the Rav would see him as some schlepper, as some guy that like dressed in disgusting clothing, schlepping, whatever it was, whatever the job, the missile job that he had there in the shtetl. And the Rav would describe how you would see this. He would go to the Chassidish Shtibel and he would see this Rabbi Yankel, the Wasserträger, walking in with a shtreimel. That shtreimel was nothing like the shtreimels. He walked in with a shtreimel, and he walked in with a bekish and a shtreimel. And then suddenly you saw Yankel, the Wasserträger. Let me see if this is it. Okay. A Shabbos Jew versus an Erev Shabbos Jew. So he said the Rav emphasized the following aspect. The Rav differentiated between merely observing the Shabbos, a Shabbos Jew, the type of which he found in America. The Rav was upset. He says, in America we have a lot of Jews that are Shomer Shabbos, but it's not the same Shabbos that I saw growing up. He said, we're missing Erev Shabbos. He was talking about that. But he says, and the deep, soulful anticipation and spiritual preparation that characterized the Erev Shabbos, the Erev Shabbos Jew in the shtetl. The week was a time of profane and secular struggle. But as Shabbos approached, the shtetl Jew was spiritually uplifted. This was a movement from the periphery of one's existence to its center. The The Jews' observance in the shtetl was characterized by a yearning heart and a focused soul, not just the technical performative mitzvahs with hand, foot, and mouth. The Shabbos environment in the shtetl was one with, he's paraphrasing, these are not the exact words. I remember these are not the exact words, but he's paraphrasing. One was the Jew felt a heightened sense of God's presence, creating an atmosphere of inner quietude and spiritual joy. In majesty and humility, the Shabbos experience was a time when the simple Jew, perhaps looked down upon during the week in worldly matters, could achieve a sense of majesty and intimate connection with the divine, an experience that transcended social or educational status. There's some fancy words over here. And there's more. But you get the idea. That aliyah, that transformation. So I'll end with a ma'aseh that I've told many times over the years that just returned to my head. So sometimes when it happens, I ignore it, but other times if I'm in a place like this, I'm not going to ignore it. But it's been told many, many times. The ma'aseh of the Bluzhever, so I'm going to say very quickly because everybody knows how the Bluzhever, who I was able to see a number of times, he was Malchus, the Bluzhever. He was Shabbos all week. When you see a tzaddik, it's Shabbos. No matter what day it is, it's Shabbos. So the Bluzhever was tall and beautiful. And he went through, the whole thing. Poland, the worst places, many of them. And the Bluzhever, as you know, what happened was that finally, where he had a good friend. I'm just saying it very quickly. You know the story. There was a good friend who was not religious at all. And the two of them were holding each other, these two Jews, the Bluzhever and this Yid. And the Yid didn't even, he knew he was a big Rebbe, but he called him Shpiro. It's Mechutzev. He didn't call him Rebbe, he called him Shpiro. But the Rebbe liked that. Yeah. So they were good friends, they were working together and being tortured together. And the Nazis wanted to have some fun, and they made the Jews, they were digging this huge hole. And this was the Rebbe described it as being many, many, many feet wide. It was a crazy hole. And the Germans wanted to have some fun. So they said, any Jew that could jump to the other side, we'll leave him alone. But if you don't, we'll shoot you. And that's what happened. So there was no hope for any of them. They couldn't barely walk. They're not going to be able to jump across some Olympic-sized hole. So, of course, everybody knows what happened. The Germans screamed out to jump. And all these Jews start to jump. And they're all being killed, they're all being shot, and everybody's dead. And there are only two people that are standing on the other side of the hole. The Rebbe and this guy. And the guy's looking. He doesn't know what happened. And the Rebbe's there with him, and he's also looking. And the guy, this Yid, asks the Rebbe, but now he doesn't say Shapiro, he says to him, Rebbe, how did you do that? How did you cross over? So the Rebbe said, I was holding on to the Tzvilat Tzaddik, I was holding on to my father, to my Zaidi, to my Elter Zayd, to B'nai Sasker. I was holding on to the Tzaddikim, to their Gartel. That's how I held on to their Gartel and they carried me over. But then the Rebbe said to him, but you, whatever Moshe, how did you get over here? So he said, you know what he said, what? Rebbe, I was holding on to your Gartel. I was holding on to your Gartel. The world there's a big pit. It's very wide. Hashem has brought us together and we're in this place. Please, Rebbe Hashem, help us to hold on to the Gartel of Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai. Help us to hold on to the Gartel of Rebbe Kever. Help us hold on to the Gartel of all the tzaddikim who are no longer in this world, the tzaddikim who are alive. Help us to hold on to each other's Gartel, because Hashem wants us to be together as friends, as brothers in our kehillah, as brothers and sisters who are holding each other up to cross over. And we're going to cross over, it should be with all of Am Yisrael. We're going to cross over and we're going to say, Mashiach's going to be standing and say, Baruch haba. Mashiach's going to greet us, he's going to hug all of us, and Mashiach's going to look at us and say, I know how I got here, but how did you guys get here? From all of history, how did you guys get here? So we're going to say, we held on to each other. L'man achai r'ai, we held on to each other. It should be B'karv Mamash.
Amar Kiva, Ashreichem Yisrael.
Amar Kiva, Ashreichem Yisrael. Ashreichem. Ashreichem Yisrael, mi atamitaru mi mitaheres. Lifnei mi atamitaru mi mitaheres. Avichem Shabbat Shema.